the J-League authorities, the same Japanese league authorities, were clearly blindsided because they did not know that he's supposed to serve a 3-match AFC ban. And the AFC kept quiet all that while. After registration, before the game, and only to leak it out. Somebody made a leak. Somebody wanted to score an own goal to sabotage the Asian Football Confederation. An internal employee sabotage. What an own goal from the Asian Football Confederation. And it is an almighty own goal that could have been avoided had they done their due processes accordingly. And in this context, what am I talking about where I'm speaking about an own goal, or rather, the sabotage that the Asian football authorities are causing to their own tournament? Well, in this case, it is on Sanfrecce Hiroshima, where the Japanese powerhouses saw their 6-1 first leg win in the AFC Champions League 2 knockout stage, round 16, against Singaporean side Lion City Sailors, being overturned last week to a 0-3 defeat after they were deemed to have fielded an ineligible player. That ineligible player in question was French striker Valery Germain, and the 34-year-old forward was involved in that match where he came on as a substitute and scored his new side's 5th goal in that route, which was on paper a very comprehensive victory, a well-deserved victory for the J1 side. However, the next day, the Straits Times reported that the Lion City Sailors could be awarded a retrospective 3-0 win after this player in question was deemed to be ineligible, having not served a 3-match suspension that was thrown down by the AFC disciplinary committee for a different offence when he was previously playing for Australian side Macarthur FC. How did it all come into this? Tanyaja attempts to dissect all these details that led to, you can say, AFC more likely scoring the own goal by having a sabotage. And while Sanfrecce are partially culpable, but they are more like victims of circumstances rather than actual protagonists. Throwback to 5th of March and Sanfrecce resoundingly thrashed Lion City Sailors 6-1 at the Aeon P Stadium. All well and good, but yet the next day, or subsequently the next 2 days after, the Straits Times of Singapore sparked a furor by reporting that the home side could have fielded an ineligible player, which usually means in the AFC rules an automatic 3-0 default win to the other team, whatever the result that happened on the actual match day. And the curious part is, why did the Asian football authorities only act now? After the final whistle was already blown and all the formalities and proceedings have completed, with all the goals, all the action, all done. Very suspicious, right? And before Sanfrecce's rather unfortunate incident, no Japanese club has ever been embroiled in any off-field paperwork incident involving Asian club competition. And just like their nation in general, you can say bureaucracy and efficiency, they go somewhat hand in hand when it comes to Japanese society. And Japanese football clubs, with its origins having come from, whether it was from company teams or from other organizations, their off-field paperwork matters are all handled as appropriately as possible, and we never find any particular incident where the Japanese clubs fail to have such paperwork in order. None. And it appeared to be the case as Sanfrecce added Jermaine as their new player in this current registration window that will end on 31st of March, after he left MacArthur FC on 12th of February and joined Sanfrecce as a free agent 5 days later. Here is a very curious context. Jermaine is known to have quite a fiery temperament when it comes to matters on pitch, and prior to him leaving the club, he has had a couple of disciplinary issues that were hanging over his head. On pitch, yes, all because of that temper. He had the talent, he was the captain of MacArthur, he was leading the Bulls towards being one of the stronger teams, and it was in the middle of the A-League men's campaign when the veteran player suddenly decided to call it quits. A day after he was served a notice by the Football Australia's match review panel that he had committed an offence by using an inappropriate gesture or comment towards the female referee Casey Rebel during the game, towards the end of the match rather. And the next day, he was given a 2-match ban. And having been rather disappointed by the refereeing decisions in the A-League men's, Jermaine decided that he would eventually terminate his contract and part ways. And MacArthur did not appeal to have the suspension reduced by 1 game. Because this player has already left the club. So where this was concerned, the disciplinary sanctions that he had gotten from the Football Australia authorities was subsequently carried over to the J-League after he joined Sanfrecce as a free agent. And when he joined, he or probably his agent or his previous club or even the A-League authorities had informed the J-League side and Sanfrecce that he has a 2-match domestic ban, and that is carried over to the J-League, where he served out the first of his 2-match ban recently since joining the club on 17th of February. However, and the word is really however, no one, Sanfrecce did not know, even the MacArthur didn't know, no one, even from his own, no one, not even the J-League, knew that this same player was carrying a retrospective 3-match ban that was thrown down by the AFC disciplinary committee following the end of the game fracas, where both sets of players in an all-Australian ASEAN Zonal final in the AFC Cup last year, where he was one of the few players who were singled out and sanctioned for this fracas. No one, only the AFC knew. And when Sanfrecce registered this player into their database, as was required whenever a club signed a new player in this window and supposed to add this player into the system, because MacArthur is not involved in any Asian club competition this season. The AFC said nothing, zilch. Then comes the round 16 first league game in Hiroshima. During the pre-match meeting that would usually have involved both sets of administrators from representing their respective clubs, Sanfrecce and Sailors. And then you have the Iranian match officials. Then you have the match the match commissioner rather, who is Ek Chan from Hong Kong. Yes, I know. For some reason, again, AFC never spell out this person's name in full. Could be a rookie match commissioner, could be a experienced one. So we have no idea. And you got your stadium organizers and all. And throughout the entire pre-match briefing between the two teams, the match officials and the stadium organizers, that is usually done the day before the game, Sanfrecce still did not know that there is a 3-match ban on this particular said player. The match commissioner did not know that he has this ban. The Lion City Sailors also did not know about this. And the AFC, who are, beyond their representatives on the pitch, also were probably not aware of this match ban. So, everything carried on as per normal. Jermaine was registered on the matchday squad. He was named as one of the substitutes in the game first leg against Sailors. He came on as a second half substitute and scored the 5th goal in the 6-1 rout. Final whistle was blown. The match was done and dusted. And out of the blue the next day, the Straits Times of Singapore reported that Sailors could be handed a 3-0 win instead. Rather sensational. Rather coming out of the blue. What was AFC doing? It's highly probable that an AFC official who is probably a Singaporean leaked this content to Dipan Raj Ganesan, the Straits Times football journalist who reported this piece of rather explosive news. It really came out of the blue. And as far as it's understood, the Sailors never filed any protests after the match over this ineligible player. No protest was filed. If there was, we had no idea. So what exactly happened? Why did such an own goal happen? Why was AFC trying to sabotage their own tournament, in this case, the ACL2? It is really a sabotage by the AFC. It's like, why are they trying to wreck their own tournament? Because it sets a very unhealthy precedent where, let's say in a tournament, AFC club tournament, where you have 50 games. Imagine 20% of the games, that means 10 games, being given 3-0 walkover wins to the other side, whether it's a strong team or a weak team. It doesn't matter. Because after the game, suddenly the AFC remembered that, this player is supposed to serve a supposed throwback ban on this. That player is supposed to have served another throwback ban. And the issue right now is this particular throwback ban. It wasn't just scoring one own goal. It was like scoring 5 own goals. The AFC scored 5 own goals in this case. 1, during the registration process, the AFC did not tell Sanfrecce that this said player is supposed to serve a 3-match suspension. 2, during the pre-match meeting, nobody from the AFC nor the match commissioner informed the two teams that this particular player is not eligible. There could have been other match suspensions that were carried over from their previous respective group stage games that involved the existing players that were already registered before the current 3rd and final window. None. 3, before the game, if the match commissioner had received this info on this player who is supposed to serve a ban, he could have told Sanfrecce to immediately take out this player. Maybe they will have no choice but to reduce the bench by 1 player because Jermaine is ineligible. He's supposed to serve the first of 3 match bans. 4, Sailors did not protest. Let's assume Sailors did not protest. the AFC out of the blue told the Pirates Garrison that, hey, this guy actually is ineligible. Sailors are going to win 3-0. It's like, what? And finally, the fifth on goal, Sanfrecce were told that they lost the game because of this ineligible player. So Sanfrecce decided they are now in Singapore right now. They're preparing for the second leg, and instead of holding on to a 6-1 lead, they have to overcome a 3-goal deficit through no fault of their own. What happened? Why is AFC doing a disaster of epic proportions of their own making that left Sanfrecce, J-League, even Line City Sailors, and even the arena match officials all completely blindsided by all these things? And unfortunately, in this case, the AFC has sort of taken the leaf out from. There are two similar examples in this regard. The MFL Challenge Cup Final. 1. 2. Newcastle United when it came to the registration of Lee Bowyer. And I will keep these two examples short. But in this case, for both of them, the one involved the Malaysian Football League authorities, where they suddenly said that in the first leg, they realized that a particular PDRM player was deemed to be ineligible and was supposed to have served a suspension in the first leg of the MFL Challenge Cup Final, which just concluded with Selangor winning the trophy. Selangor eventually won 7-0 on aggregate, but that was because the first leg, when they narrowly won 3-2, became a 3-0 win. And PDRM obviously were not happy, because why did they not know? And eventually they had to sacrifice their head coach P. Maniam because of this unlikeliest of errors. Then you have Newcastle United several years back, where Lee Bowyer was given a 6-match ban from his previous stint when Leeds were involved in European club competition for an offence. And after moving in between a few clubs, he joined the former English midfielder. He joined Newcastle, and Newcastle were then involved in European club competitions. Newcastle knew that Bowyer was serving a 6-match ban, so they never registered him for their first 6 European games, thinking that Bowyer would serve this ban and would eventually be cleared to play once he was registered. Turns out, no. Lee Bowyer still had to sit out an additional 6 games in European competition for Newcastle after he was registered, and UEFA duly told them that Bowyer is not allowed to play for the next 6 games. Newcastle were obviously flabbergasted. They tried to appeal. They even spoke to the English FA over this. However, it's because of Newcastle's stupidity that they had no choice but to tell Bowyer that he still had to sit out 6 more games. It was a comedy of epic proportions, but UEFA did their homework. The English FA did their homework. It was Newcastle who did not do their homework. But in this context, the fiasco that's surrounding the Sanfrecce Sailors game, Sanfrecce, in this context, again the same player, where he was serving a 2-match domestic ban that was carried over by the A-League to the J-League. The J1 League authorities knew, and it was mentioned in their own database that he was serving this ban. But the J-League authorities, the same Japanese league authorities, were clearly blindsided because they did not know that he's supposed to serve a 3-match AFC ban. And the AFC kept quiet all that while, after registration, before the game, and only to leak it out. Somebody make a leak. Somebody wanted to score an own goal to sabotage the Asian Football Confederation. An internal employee sabotage. How did it all lead to this? Could this have been avoided? Yes. But could this have been stopped? Also yes. But why did the AFC did nothing and made Sanfrecce the scapegoats of this fiasco, when no Japanese club has caused a serious, any or even a minor paperwork issue before? If you see Southeast Asian clubs where they had all these issues, fine, they had this history before. But are the AFC so focused on the AFC Champions League Elite, the flagship tournament, that it supersedes everything else that they eventually probably, and I'm going to say this in which could be libellous, destroy the ACL2 and even the AFC Challenge League? Were they that intent to destroy these two competitions by having such a sabotage? It's an almighty sabotage of epic proportions from within, keeping quiet until after the game, when not even the sailors protested. There was no protest, and this came out of the blue. Boom. I don't want to name this particular AFC official in concern who leaked this news to the Straits Times. But in this case, it's horrendous. Sanfrecce now have to chase a 3-goal deficit, which by their standards is actually not difficult to do so, even on the artificial turf on Jalan Besar Stadium this Wednesday, 12th of March, the second leg. An unexpected win, although it's a retrospective one, an undeserved retrospective one, where nobody said anything until the AFC threw that boomerang from nowhere. I mean, standards have clearly slipped at Bukit Jalil. Standards have clearly declined at Bukit Jalil, where people are having their own respective interests. I mean, it's not like where regulations are very anal and you have to point like, oh, you are penalized $5,000 for kicking off 1 minute late and all these things. You have these regulations, you have these suspensions. The basic rule is, please do the homework. Please remember that, and the system is supposed to have recorded it, but for some reason, nobody mentioned anything. Or could it have been the case where somewhere was lost in between, where AFC probably did something, or were they too focused on their under-20 AFC Asian Cup finals in Shenzhen, China, that the entire competitions committee, the entire disciplinary committee totally overlooked this particular simple error? Really, it's quite a big sabotage of epic proportions. And the AFC should sanction the officials involved the same way as they sanctioned Sanfrecce Hiroshima, perhaps even more severely than what they threw to Sanfrecce for fielding an ineligible player. And to wrap it up, it is not Valerie Germain's fault that he failed to tell Sanfrecce J-League authorities about that 3-match AFC ban, because it happened months ago, last year, and it's more than half a year. So he would not have remembered. MacArthur would not have remembered. Sanfrecce wouldn't know, and neither would J1 authorities know. But in that registration process, the AFC knew. So what happened? 1. 2. Pre-match, nobody protested. Nobody said anything. AFC did not say that this particular player is ineligible, alongside perhaps maybe a few other players who were actually supposed to serve their suspensions and duly serve their suspensions in Hiroshima, if there were any. Nothing. 3. No protest from sailors after a 1-6 loss. Nobody complained about the scoreline. Nobody said anything. But what happened? If there was a protest, the sailors did not mention it. Then came the leak from AFC to the Straits Times. Who did it? Who is so power hungry to want to make an ambitious move that led to this with a personal vendetta? And 5. Why are the AFC competitions committee so engrossed on the under 20 Asian Cup finals in Shenzhen that they overlook this particular administrative matter? It can't be because of the computer system in China is different from that in Malaysia, back in their HQ. It couldn't be the case. And how about the disciplinary committee who might have known? Nothing happened during this while. I would say this to wrap it up. This is what Tanya feels. The AFC should impose harsher sanctions on those within who were involved in this fiasco, because ultimately it is a sabotage of epic proportions intent to undermine the spirit of football, the spirit of the players who came to play the game, to the fans who attended this game. That is completely unacceptable by any proportion, and to destroy that spirit of the game that was played in a fair manner, where fans came to watch a 6-1 win overtake to a 0-3 because of some AFC officials decided that, hey, wait a minute, now then they know about this. This is completely unacceptable at the AFC level. And you wonder whether Sheikh Salman, the AFC president, and Dato' Winston John, the AFC General Secretary, is going to do anything when this sabotage of epic proportions has happened. And because it's a sabotage at the highest level in Asian club football or in Asian football, every club in Asia will from now on be wary on what the AFC is going to do, because that trust, that mutual trust is already smashed thanks to, I repeat, AFC's own sabotage, own goals of epic proportions.